I'm so excited. You give me so much respect. I'm just thrilled. We're not out of this yet. It seems to me that you've made up your mind of how you're going to be. To me, you're so kind.
Hi guys, welcome to the 6th episode of the Indie Couch Sessions, and it's been a great ride so far. I keep repeating the same thing because every week I feel very glad to meet new people because we don't get to meet people these days, and our onus has been to try and bring in musicians from different sounds and different genres, and we have had 10 episodes so far, 10 or 11 I think, and but then we never spoke about metal. That was my only regret, that we have had people from jazz, we have had people from classic rock, we have had people doing Indian classical music also joining us, but then somehow or the other metal keeps getting lost, and it's not that I am a metal head per se, but then I'm a lover of a particular space in metal music. I'm a big fan of Megadeth and Pantera and all these bands like we all have grown up listening to. And also I've heard a little bit of new metal in the form of RATM and all that we heard during our college. We were big fans of Morello and things like that. So it's my pleasure, to talk to a band which is pretty much old in the industry. It's been around for a decade, I think a little more than a decade if I'm not wrong. So it gives me a lot of pleasure to talk to Albatross from Bombay. We have all been fans of metal. I've been hearing your songs in the gigs and all that in Bombay for a very long time, and I think that has been a connect. And also, I think you guys are pretty close to Sahil, and Sahil used to come in every gig almost. And there was a nice movement, and Scribe was also pretty much active in Bombay that time too. So like really super active, hyperactive band. So how have you guys been? Please tell us, and thanks for doing this with us. That's the first and foremost thing that I should say.
How we have been, it's been like personally speaking, we haven't met up as a band in, I don't know, like more than a year, I would say. And it's been a nightmare for me the last few months or so. But things are getting back on track. I mean, on a personal front, it's been terrible. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the most exciting things that I get to do, where we release music and talk to people like you. So yeah,
thank you so much. I feel really good. But the only thing is that I haven't heard that much of metal also to ask you those technical questions. But I'm going to be asking you questions from the very limited metal space that I have in my head. And of course, music is universal. I mean, there's no language or genre. I mean, whatever you are expressing, the way Bipro sings, it's phenomenal. I mean, I can't imagine somebody constantly changing the vocal style. If there's a clean vocal coming in, then he's screeching. I mean, those technical things, I mean, it's worth respecting. So whenever I have been in a particular crowd and people have, raised eyebrows, oh, metal, I have always supported metal because of one thing. It's a really technical genre. No matter you're playing a bass guitar or a guitar or you're singing, you need to be super tight to be able to do that, right? So talking about your music, I think Riju and I, we were speaking a while ago, and he kept insisting on the fact that it's a horror metal is the genre. So please elaborate on horror metal. Where were the influences, and a little bit about the first song that we are going to hear tonight, which you guys decide which one will that be.
I think Neptune Murders is, Neptune Murders is the perfect first song. But Bipro, you were saying?
Yeah, no, you go for it. Go with Neptune. That is the latest song. That's our latest that we've just released. I would be very happy if that's the one you begin your show with. And coming back to what you were talking about, the moment you start getting technical with me about heavy metal is when I am going to leave this interview. I'm going to leave this chat, because there's one thing I'm sorry I can't agree with you on.
Okay. Absolutely okay.
All jokes apart. Seriously, I will not be very. I was just joking. But me, it's a matter of just being good at what you do. And like you said, I mean, to perform, you have to be at your very best, do what you do, and do it right. But then what isn't? Whatever. I mean, whether you're playing heavy metal or whether you're doing
That's
just
true.
about anything,
That's true.
you can only do justice if you do it to the best of your abilities. And thankfully, Albatross, I am blessed with bandmates who are excellent, absolutely terrific at what they do. And hence the music has been something that, I mean, I can't speak for people who have their opinions about Albatross, and they're most, I mean, uh, they're most welcome to have the kind of opinions they do.
Right.
Uh, to me personally, I love what I do. I love my bandmates. I love the music we make. Horror metal honestly comes from a space where Riju and when Albatross is Riju's idea. When Riju started it in 2008, he wanted to put together a project where he would write horror stories, convert them into songs, and then put out music, collaborating with musicians in the scene. Somewhere down the line, and the first song that Riju wrote was a song called Gigi, and he asked me if I want to sing on it. I did, and I thought that was a one-off thing, really, because that was the idea. But a couple of years down the line, Riju thought it would be a great idea to put together a band, a live band that will take this thing a little more seriously, come together as a unit. I was absolutely for the idea, and I'm very, very happy. I insisted, I threw my hat in the ring saying that, I want to sing for you. And I'm glad he agreed to do so. And it's been a fabulous 11 years. Horror, because I'm sorry, I digressed. Horror, because
That's okay.
that's one thing Riju and I have in common, our love for horror stories. Riju is an avid reader, and I watch a lot of movies. I'm not so much of I'm not a very voracious reader, but I watch a lot of horror cinema. But so horror stories bind us, bring us together. And of course we listen to very similar music. So that and so when Albatross started as a live band, taking Riju's idea ahead, Riju was very, very particular about it, very clear, and that's something I really respect about this guy, that he's extremely sure of what he wants. He knows what he wants, and he said, "Okay, this is my idea of the band. I am going to be the primary songwriter," and I'm glad he chose to be that, because none of the others are very, very good at songwriting, writing lyrics. But he has focused what songwriting is about. But I mean, Jay, our drummer, I believe the only other person in the band who came up, who contributed with a concept, with a story into Fear from the Skies. But Riju decided, I'm going to be the primary songwriter. I'm going to be writing horror stories, and then we'll put that together. We'll put the story together in the form of a few songs. Hate to beat our own drum, but I think we
That's
are
okay.
the only band in the country who's doing this consistently. And so that is what horror metal is about. I mean, one thing I've always hated from the very beginning is slotting our Albatross's music as, and we began as a thrash band or a power metal band, old school heavy metal band. If you listen to our music, it's you'll find it difficult to slot us into a particular category, and that is
That's what
something
I was thinking too. Yes.
That's not something we have consciously done, but I think that since we have not done that consciously, it has come very naturally, because each of us has developed, has grown in the band with our ideas, with our talent. I'm a very, very different vocalist from what I used to be back in 2008. in 2009. I can even tell you about a time when Riju actually said, "You are the worst vocalist I've ever worked with. I want you out of my band right now." So that has been our story. And that's what I love about this band, that we've grown. Each of us has allowed the other person to make mistakes, to learn, and to develop. So it's from Gigi to Neptune, our songs have been very, very different. And it has grown, it has become something. And it also comes from a place where each of us, except for I think Riju and I, listen to very, very different kind of music. So when we get together to write a song, it becomes a melting pot of sorts, where somebody is bringing very progressive, very modern influences. Somebody is coming from a very traditional mindset. And what you get, it's very difficult to call it power metal, heavy metal, speed metal, whatever. I just love calling ourselves heavy metal. And some say that, we've kind of taken a very progressive turn with Fear from the Skies and now Neptune Murders. Maybe we have. To me, at the end of the day, what the song I listen to sounds good. I think we've done a great job. I'm one of those very few people who's not embarrassed to say that I love listening to Albatross. Albatross is all of Albatross's work is on my phone, is on my iPod, is on my computer, wherever. I love listening to our songs. Because to me, it's just another band making fantastic music. I'm sorry, yes, Albatross.
No, it's a very tight band. That's the first thing that, of course, you guys are playing for a decade. It has to be tight. But then the thing is, studio-wise, when I was listening to the mixing and everything, like I always ensure that I listen to music on a good headphone. So it was booming in my ears. I was listening to all the songs that you guys have sent me, and so it was like booming in my ears. And for a change, I thought, what sound can it, probably, get into? At one moment, I thought it has got elements of thrash, definitely. But then the next moment, I thought it also got some elements of Nightwish sort of a melody and sort of things like that. So there's also a lot of melody in the band, which definitely, I'm sure you guys have listened to a lot of good music, and everything culminates into that. We'll listen to Neptune Murders, and then I'll come to Riju with the second question.
Row your boat gently as they scream, sacrifice them for Neptune, who met me in a dream.
So yeah, Riju, just tell me a little bit that, I know for a fact that, you write about wrestling for a publication too, and besides being the bass player of this beautiful band and also one of the founder members. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, to get people together, to ensure that the rehearsals are on time and gigs and things like that. How do you wear so many hats? Tell us that first.
No, the wrestling thing came much later.
Mhm.
I mean, we've always had jobs. We were always
Mhm.
working professionals. I mean,
All
ever
of you
since the
are
band.
working professionals, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes. Akash is a full-time musician.
I love
Vignesh
how a full-time musician is not a working professional.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, but the rest of what I mean is the rest of us have corporate jobs. Vignesh
Yeah.
did, and we don't know what he's up to right now. So, but yeah, so we have always been a part of the corporate world.
Mhm.
So this has always been, and that's been one of my biggest issues with the whole rock scene, so to speak. All of my bands, it's just
Mhm.
been a weekend activity. I would have liked it to be more of a weekday activity. And
Mhm.
thank you for saying that we are tight. Every time I listen to our music, I think we are not tight enough.
I think that's
I
great.
always,
That's a very good realization that you have, because that way you can probably get better with years to come.
that's what constantly bugs me, that if we could have jammed a little more and stuff like that. And honestly, I know this is true for Wipro as well. It's killing us that we can't get together in this kind of environment and play again. But honestly, I mean, when we were on a roll, when we were on our upward spiral, so to speak,
Mhm.
uh, we wanted to, like, there was a burning drive in us. I mean, we wanted to meet up every weekend. We wanted to like write songs, create a lot of this thing. We You could say that ever since we have like grown older and had more responsibilities, we haven't been as busy as we should have ideally been.
Mhm.
So we are doing what we can when we can.
Mhm.
The Neptune Murders is a very interesting project in that sense, because if you notice, it's an animated video.
Yeah, I saw that.
The
Yeah.
one we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happened because we couldn't meet up. So
Oh,
we considered,
okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that
That's great.
essentially happened because we couldn't meet up. But then we realized it's probably the best way to tell stories, because I am
Yes.
sick and tired of watching five people playing, pretending to play music in a
See,
music
I'm
video.
a big fan of Steven Wilson, and I'm totally on for animation. It works for me. And ghost stories, of course.
Exactly, especially with horror stories. I mean, imagine if you find, if we tell you that, hey man, you're a friend of ours, why don't you act in this video and we'll do some horror sequences? I mean, even if you're the best actor in the world, it'll look extremely lame, extremely cheesy.
Little
And
creepy
with
too,
this,
because suddenly you see that the bass player trying to enact like a, something school
No, no,
horror-y, or yeah, yeah.
I
Please,
was
please.
just telling Teju a few days back that when you when you happen to know a person in real life, and
Mm.
then you see them on camera performing something, and I'm talking particularly especially about heavy metal, about bands and
Mhm.
watching music. So you can't take them seriously. So you see, it, at least for me, it gets very difficult. You suddenly see these five men you otherwise would just sit and have a beer with and have a few laughs. Suddenly they're on your screen with their
Mm.
guitars and their drums and trying to look as evil as possible. And I would just laugh. And I have done that. I mean, I've watched videos of my friends' bands who put out some excellent music, put out some smashing videos and excellent
Mhm.
material up. But yeah, the moment I see the video and I see them being
yeah, and especially having been part of the process ourselves, man. Like, it's
Mhm.
one thing to perform the song on stage, and even
Right.
if you have to put on a little more macho act just to connect with the crowd, that's fine. But just
But I think
pretending to,
I'm guessing
uh,
what you guys are trying to say is like the seriousness of the story is somewhere lost when you see these images on
absolutely,
screen, right? So,
absolutely. I mean, yeah. Sorry, you were
no, please,
saying.
please, please, please carry on.
no, for
No,
that matter, if I knew, for instance, if I knew Metallica in person, if I knew James
Mhm.
Hetfield in person, I would probably watch a video of theirs. I'll watch a any of the, I would still be laughing. I couldn't probably take it
No, that's a
seriously.
great perspective actually I gained today, because I had a feeling that probably people from any band, not necessarily metal, they probably like being on camera. I think this is the first band that I am talking to who are saying that no, we just want the story to go out. We don't like to be on the camera, even if we are like maybe a little bit, not more than that. And I think that a few of the videos are from the live concerts. So
Can't speak. Sorry, Riju, you want me to talk?
No. I'll just chime in with something. I mean, and also the level of detail that we have, like in our stories. I
yeah,
mean, the brief I gave the animator was, I mean, there's a serial killer who's inspired by the story of Atlantis drowning, and
oh,
now he's finding women and he's like killing them by pulling their cheeks and all of that. Imagine if we had enacted that, like somebody rising from the water
can't.
with a serial killer.
Yeah, you can't actually. There are certain things that you can't for sure.
Yeah.
So I think. But talking about the music again, we are going to play the next song now. So I'll go to Bipro. Which one do you want us to play?
All right, then why don't we play In the Lair of Dr. Hex? That's one of, I've always maintained, I've always said this. It's one of my favorite songs to play live.
Mhm.
It's from Fear from the Skies. And I mean, I've absolutely loved the work the boys have done
What's the
on
story
that.
behind the song? If you could just tell us in a nutshell.
Riju.
In the lair of Dr. X, it's part of a larger narrative, man. Like,
Mhm.
so Fear from the Skies is in two parts. It's
Mhm.
part of the second this thing. It's the story of a it's inspired by a story I read a long time ago, which says that Nazi Germany, they were in the latter days, they were developing biological weapons. They were experimenting on people and stuff like
Right,
that.
right,
So
right.
whatever megalomaniac mad scientist
Mhm.
who is called Dr. Hicks, which is the person I don on stage,
Mhm.
whatever megalomaniac kind of mad scientist, he experiments on a man, gives him
Mhm.
wings, creates
Mhm.
an assassin, wants to overthrow a king, the king who rules the land,
Mhm.
and assume his position. So that's
Whoa.
how the song starts. So it's called In the Lair of Dr. Hicks. Yeah.
Let's hear that.
Uh,
Let's hear that, and I'll come to the next question after we hear the song.
The rebellion had been crushed. All hope, they say, was gone. But in this dank, putrid room, a new assassin was born. You were taken in step when the battle was lost, escaping the blood and away from the foes. The rebel and crush our plans we will foil, the blood of our brothers to us on this soil. But now you will rise, bring that from the sky. Inside your back, the seeds have been sown. The world you have known, you will now disown. I want to hope you must bear the cross, unfurl the wings, reborn albatross. Destruction you bring, so I am angry. the close, assassination from your flight. Without the will rise, the albatross fell from the now I and higher. We're built today. I rule empire through the pain and transit wounds. We're waste the sign of Albatross.
That was an awesome song. Thank you guys so much. For our viewers who have just tuned in, let me tell you that we are talking to Mumbai-based band Albatross. I have been a big fan of that band for the past 7-8 years, and it's a pleasure to talk to them. I'll go over to Bipro again. Actually, my next question is to the two of you. You guys can answer in tandem. How challenging is it, to get going in terms of gigs? Because even before COVID, the only complaint I used to hear from people that we are not getting paid enough at the gigs, and we are not getting enough gigs. So how do you guys see it? I mean, like, is it about getting paid and getting more gigs? Getting paid, obviously, I mean, that's a necessity. But then, what matters to you guys most? I mean, the great stage out of the country or in the country with a lesser payment. How has been the experience overall in terms of gigs and payments and things like that? Whatever you want to share.
You want to go first? So I mean, in terms of payment, right? We realized a long time ago that we are not going to get paid for like the metal gigs we do, where we are going to play our kind of music. We have been told that we undercharge. I think having been on the other end of the thank you. Having been on the other side of the whole thing, we used to organize our own shows. I realized that what we charge is exactly what the organizers can afford generally. But in the meantime, I mean, what Albatross did, and I mean, I don't know if this is something that everyone will agree to fund our albums and stuff. We don't put in any money from our own pockets. We have created an ecosystem in which we are making all the money that we are investing into the music. I mean, we have created that kind of a system. So for that, we as long as Hard Rock Cafe was operational, we used to do Aussie tribute nights and I don't know, Megadeth tribute nights.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah,
which is a lot of fun. I mean, and I know a lot of purists might not think that is the way you should go, but these are bands that have influenced us. I don't think.
Of course, why not?
So yeah, we have done quite a few of those, and those have funded, our last album, our new releases. In fact, for a new release, we spent a lot of money. We probably spent as much money as our last entire album on the music video and on just that single. So
no, that's just to come to think of it. I mean, that's a great story in itself. I mean, playing gigs and saving that money to use for something even more productive. I think all the other musicians and bands should take some lessons from you guys. How to channelize the money into something that is productive. Going to Bipro about the vocal style, which I was asking. How do you do that, man? Please give us a snippet of how can one sing like that? Because I have seen a lot of vocalists, okay? I mean, over the years in Bangla, in Hindi, in English. I mean, like, this is some rare breed of singers who can, do a clean voice, do a growl, do a screech. What is that secret behind that? If you can tell us a little bit. When did you first, realize that you can do this?
With Albatross. There is really no secret to this. And I have just, like I said at the beginning of this chat, that it has all been about learning as we were doing things, and
there must have been some
didn't.
references, right? I mean, going back to some vocalists in the past and things like
There
that.
have always been references. There have always been references.
I'm just asking about that only, yeah.
Certainly, but if I tell you that that I saw, I mean, I'm as passionate about enjoying a song by a Kishore Kumar that as much as an Iron Maiden would excite me, or some little more extreme maybe. I mean, I'm or even watching enjoying a Slayer album. So it has all been about listening to whatever I like, and drawing influences from there. I will never ever say that I've tried to ape somebody, ape a certain style, but it has been about that sounds interesting, and Albatross gives me that opportunity because there is no standard way of doing this. It's not most of our songs do not have a verse, chorus, verse, bridge, verse, chorus kind of a structure. We do what we want to do. And we do what the story needs. And if you really put a gun to my head and ask me what's the secret, that is the secret. It's what the story needs.
Beautiful.
To me, it's all about the story and the fact that you have to narrate it. And if I'm talking about 2-3 characters, if I'm narrating a story that involves a converse, for instance, we have this song called Uncle Sunny at the Tavern from our second EP. Was it second EP? Riju?
Second EP. Yeah. I've split album.
Yeah. Riju also looks a little confused. He doesn't remember right now.
It's been a long time. I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
So Uncle Sunny is a conversation. Uncle Sunny is a conversation between an old man and this one young boy who comes back to his hometown. I can't possibly be singing that conversation in one style. It doesn't cut it. So I have to take 2 different styles and put them together.
It becomes a monologue otherwise.
It becomes a monologue. It's not convincing at all. Similarly, with Neptune, it has to, each part of the song, while it's not a conversation as such, but it's a way that story needs to be told, right? We have the song called Sheep. Where do sheep disappear? That story, that's a different kind of a story that doesn't require an extreme vocal style. So it's all been about the story and what I do, the kind of things that I can do with my vocals. I've been blessed. I'm grateful. I can do what I can do. Is only something that I have discovered with the band.
That's awesome.
As I told you, our first gig was an absolute disaster, and most of it was because of me. Because of I got high on stage, and I was going live after many years. I had no experience, and I just messed the whole thing up. And after the show, I will never forget. Riju said this: that get out of my band.
That was a wake-up call for you, I'm sure.
It was a call for me. And I kid you not, for the next few months when we used to rehearse, Riju would actually invite our friends to the rehearsal, to the jam sessions, make them sit before us and say, Vipro, talk to them while you sing to them. And I can't begin to tell you how uncomfortable it got. Here I was 24, 25, I think. I'm making good money working. I'm an independent guy. And suddenly somebody like my father is telling me, do this thing. I can't do that. But
Right, it
that
happens.
helped me so much, that helped me to understand, interact, learn how to interact with the audience, sing properly, actually give a shit about what I have to do. And these are little things that help me grow, develop a certain style that you can say, okay, that you can listen to a song and say, that's Vipro singing. So that's pretty much been the secret.
No, I think we'll just play Where Do the Sheep, since you already spoke about it, and we'll come back to the last segment. For the last 5 minutes. I'm going to be asking you questions about the indie circuit, your friends in the circuit, and some experiences at the gigs.
Night after night, so I try to sleep. The weight I don't surround, over the fence daily. My view across the horizon, imagination flew. Results were surprising. After the cross, the mighty wooden fence, they would lead into a hole and remain there. Trusted my wizard and climbed down deep in those cursed caverns was a factory of sheep, men who were captured were all dressed in blue. Their preachers with pistols and transformed it through. We're all sheep, we're all sheep, we're all sheep, created in a hole. We're all sheep, we're all sheep, we're all sheep. We do as we're told. asleep. I was jumping the fence every night in my head, and every night ends. I was born in a factory, twisted and turned, and when the furnace like me to burn. We're all she, we're all she, we're all she, created in a hole. We're all she, we're all she, we're all she, we do as we're told. It's not just me, you sheep too. Not in my hand, in peace, can you that you wear around your back is the weight of your sins. The sheep is we're all sheep, created in a hole. We're all sheep, we're all sheep, we're all sheep, we do as we're told. We're all sheep, we're all sheep, we're all sheep, created in a hole. We're all sheep, we're all sheep, we're all sheep, I accept my own. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much again, Vipro and Riju, for doing this with us, and it's been a great chat so far. I understand that a band has a story in itself. I mean, so many gigs, recordings, and the fact of just chilling together as a family. I mean, it's beautiful, right? I mean, the way Vipro was saying that he remembers the way you actually made him do this and do that. So while being on stage, well, tell us about that one mad story that you guys will probably remember till your grave. There are like so many mad stories from stage that you see. Even I remember for example, I was at that Megadeth Harley Rock Riders gig in Bombay some years ago, and there were like 2-3 guys were in that mosh pit. Somebody was bleeding from the nose, somebody was bleeding from the lips, but then at the end of it, everyone was hugging each other. So tell us about any mad experience from one of those metal gigs from stage, whatever you guys have seen.
Do you want to take this? I don't remember. It's all blended into one thing.
But there have been some fun stories. I mean, seriously, one thing that I really can't ever agree is that a metal band has to be all the time. It's exactly the opposite. I mean, I find it very amusing when somebody comes up to, and this has happened, that so somebody comes up to, and they've come to the band and said, "Oh, so Vipro can smile and can talk politely. So what do you expect?" Seriously, I was so scared to talk to Bipro. I said, why? Anyway, point being, we've had a lot of fun together. So when you ask me for memories, I wouldn't tell you about mosh pits, something that I hate with all I have. I hate mosh pits.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna. I can't think of such brutal stuff. I think of
it can be non-brutal also. It's okay.
and those are probably the memories I'm going to share. I can talk to you about how we landed in Melbourne, and all of us got not all of us. We got lost in the airport. We didn't have phones. I mean, we obviously didn't have phone mobile connectivity to get in touch with it, and it was a horrible mess. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because Riju, who otherwise you cannot piss this guy off. You will not see him angry. But he's always got this smile plastered on his face, but to see this man actually blow his top, and start abusing the stuff that I don't even think are abuses. I think he just made them up in his head, in Hindi, that too. I mean, I would actually think
in Melbourne he was abusing in Hindi. Okay.
He was abusing. Because he was abusing us.
When
we finally
met.
And where were you?
Okay.
And he is, we call him the boss man. He's the manager. He's the primary guy. And so when the boss man loses his shit like that, and you were supposed to be like, fuck man, we kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But all of us are like, what was that? So there are things like that. Then there was a time when we were performing. We were going to perform in Varanasi, of all places. Firstly, I mean, I really for the longest time I thought, till the time I actually reach the venue, I'm not going to believe that people in Varanasi listen to heavy metal. But so we were in Banaras. We were heading to Banaras, and our flight was delayed by some 6-7 hours, and we landed in Varanasi when I think we were supposed to be on stage that time, and he was around an hour or so away from the airport, and it was biting cold to reach the venue. It felt, and that was a metal memory,
That's a story, yeah.
These 2-3 cars that we were traveling in just rushes into the venue, and then we had already changed our clothes in the car to step out of the car with our guitars, and then the cars just stop in front of the stage, and we out of the car and on the stage. Oh, that's bloody metal, man. I mean,
that's the story.
It was a lot of fun. So there are a lot of such fun stories where we're pulling each other's legs, and like you said, it's a family. It's a family away from our family, and something that I really, really miss. I mean, I'm very, very sorry that we haven't met. This is how we meet and talk for the last year and a half, and I hope things get better very soon.
Of course. This has been a really fun chat, I may say, because I don't know how time just flew. It's just 2 minutes to go for the camera to shut down. But before we end, I'm going to end with your song In the Court of Guru, which is going to be playing for our audience. That's going to be the last song. Before you guys go, tell us about, I know that you guys have had a lot of studio albums, EPs and all. What's the future plan, immediate future plan? And if you have to recommend 1 or 2 metal bands from the indie scene that people must listen to, who would they be?
The future plan is to meet up as soon as possible. I mean, I guess after we are all double vaccinated, we'll take risks and step out. And I mean, none of the bands in the Indian circuit, there are so many talented bands who do this on the side. I mean, they put their passion aside. I mean, they do this after their work hours. So, I mean, I'm going to miss out on a lot of this thing. So I'm going to just name as many as possible. Demonic Resurrection is good. Reptilian Death.
Yes.
I don't know. Do they even exist right now?
They're like very old bands, I know.
No, I see the timer running out. Listen, there are any band that you can check out. I think Sahil has compiled a list on Spotify of pretty much every Indian band that you need to check out, and you should go and do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Albatross. Wish you all the best for your powerful music. Sorry, horror music. I won't say powerful, but yeah, it's definitely a power packed, and it's been a pleasure chat. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. This is great.
At approximately 11 o'clock, a man known simply as the Master was arrested from his house for cannibalism. He will be presented in the court today. To suspend with filled the room, the cannibal accused of murder. As the storm the room begins to shudder. In the cold of cold, justice will be served. In the cold of cold, you get to dirty sound. In the cold of cold, judge gives his sentence. In the cold of cold, it's time for repentance. The judge, was he wise well, locked the man behind a prison cell. Well, he's never so late. I made the murderer made his fight. The cold of cold, justice will be served. In the cold of cold, you get up to the sound. In the cold of cold, that's the disturbance. In the cold of cold, it's time for repentance. Night before, when the judge opened the door, a man entered and knocked him to the floor. He killed him, seasoned him, and cooked his flesh. Brought it next day to the court and served